Hi, guys. Welcome back to Nirruption's weekly podcast. I am your host, Emediong. I tried out my American accent and I think I nailed it. I think I did a pretty good job. Maybe I'll do some of the newscasting in my accent today. Anyway, we are back again to try and give you news in a not so boring way. This is our African news section, and let's get into it. For our first news headline, the construction of Ghana's first vaccine manufacturing plant. According to All Africa, the construction of Ghana's first vaccine manufacturing plant is expected to begin in July this year. The chairman of the Presidential Vaccine Manufacturing Committee, PVMC, Professor Kwabena Frimpong Boateng, has said. Under a private-led consortium, DEKS Vaccines Limited, the plant would be a fill and finish site that imports components of COVID-19 mRNA vaccines for processing, packaging, and distribution nationwide and within the sub-region, with funding support of 5 million euros from the German Development Corporation and seed money of $25 million from the government. The plant is expected to be fully operational by January 2024 to produce the country's first COVID-19 vaccine. So that's a win for Africa, and I'm very excited about it. Next, we have South Africa declaring a state of disaster after deadly floods. So President Cyril Ramaphosa has declared a state of national disaster in South Africa, according to Africa News. This comes a week after terrible floods left at least 443 people dead in the Durban area on the East Coast. The cabinet met in a special session last night and decided to declare a state of national disaster, the head of state said in a televised address on Monday, April 18, referring to the situation as a humanitarian disaster. Tonight, we are a nation united in mourning, added Mr. Ramaphosa, who visited the country on Wednesday. Some 10,000 troops have been deployed to the affected areas to assist the overwhelmed relief effort. The week-long downpour has led to deadly floods and landslides in KwaZulu-Natal, where most of the casualties have so far been recorded. So please put Ghana in your prayers. Every thought, every prayer, nothing is too small. And if I apologize, put South Africa in your prayers. If you have people there, call them, check up on them. Things like this can be very, very devastating. Okay? Next, the WHO chief uses Ukraine war to question racial equality. The head of the World Health Organization has highlighted coverage of the Ukraine war to question whether the world really gives equal attention to Black and white lives. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, I'm not sure I pronounced that. It's like Ghebreyesus. I think it's Ghebreyesus. I'm very sorry. Acknowledged the impact of Russia's invasion was globally significant, but said ongoing conflicts in his home country of Ethiopia, as well as Yemen, Afghanistan, and Syria, had only garnered a fraction of the focus that has been placed on Ukraine. He made the comments during a virtual press briefing from Geneva. I don't know if the world really gives equal attention to Black and white lives, he said. I said it last week. The whole attention to Ukraine is very important, of course, because it impacts the whole world. But even a fraction of it is not being given to Tigray, Yemen, Afghanistan, Syria, and others. Last month, Tedros said there is nowhere on earth where the health of millions of people is more under threat than Ethiopia's Tigray region. He also critiqued the press for its failure to document the ongoing atrocities in Ethiopia, noting that people had been burned alive in that region. I don't even know if that was taken seriously by the media, he said. Tedros acknowledged that the war in Ukraine is globally significant, but asked if other crises are being accorded enough attention. And I need to be blunt and honest that the world is not treating the human race the same way, he added on Wednesday. Some are more equal than others. And when I say this, it pains me because I see it. Tedros described the situation in Tigray as tragic and said he hopes the world comes back to its senses and treats all human life equally. Now, that's definitely something to think about. Next, France says mercenaries from Russia's Wagner Group staged French atrocity in Mali. According to France 24, the French military has said it has videos of Russian mercenaries burying bodies near an army base in northern Mali. Wow. Which the army says, is part of a smear campaign against the French, who handed the Gossi base over to Malian forces earlier this week. Satellite images taken by the French military on Thursday morning show what appear to be 10 Caucasian soldiers covering approximately a dozen Malian bodies with sand 4 kilometers east of the Gossi military base in the country's north, according to a French military officer. In the video, one of the soldiers appears to be filming the scene. The Caucasian soldiers in the video are believed to be members of the Wagner Group, a Russian mercenary force, the officer said. Several tweets with pictures of the bodies have been posted on accounts that support Russia or fake accounts created by Wagner, the officer said. The tweets blame the French for the killings and the burials, according to the French officer. On our next headline, main hospital in Ethiopia's Tigray region runs out of food. The main hospital in Ethiopia's war-ravaged region of Tigray has sent home 240 patients after food supply ran out last week, officials said. The decision by Ida Referral Hospital in Tigray's capital, Mekelle, underscores how little food aid is reaching the region despite the government's declaration in March of a unilateral truce to allow aid deliveries. One hospital official who asked not to be named said about 360 patients remained who were able to purchase their own food. New patients without food or money were being turned away, he said. Those who had to leave included babies with meningitis and tuberculosis and a 14-year-old boy with HIV, two nurses told Reuters. You can get more information about this online, and really we should all see if there's anything we can do in any way at all to help. The former president, Mwai Kibaki, dies at 90. Former President Moi Kibaki has passed away at the age of 90. His death was announced by President Uhuru Kenyatta on Friday. It is my sorrowful duty to announce to the nation the passing of H.E. Emilio Mwai Kibaki, the third President of the Republic of Kenya. H.E. Mwai Kibaki lived a dedicated life of public service. We salute a notable father figure in the chronicles of our nation, a leader who strove so hard and accomplished so much for his country, a nation he so deeply cherished and served with commitment and an unbending will to improve the lives of our people, he said. We sympathize with the people of Kenya on the loss of their president. Moving on, the East African community agrees on regional force to try to end Congo unrest. Reuters reports that the 7 countries of the East African Community, EAC, have agreed to set up a regional military force to try to end decades of bloodshed caused by militant activity in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, Kenya said. Despite billions of dollars spent on one of the United Nations' largest peacekeeping forces, more than 120 rebel groups continue to operate across large swathes of East Congo, almost 2 decades after the official end of the Central African country's civil wars. The EAC, which Congo joined last month, called on local armed groups to join a political process to resolve their grievances or be handled militarily, the office of Kenya's president said in a statement following an EAC meeting in Nairobi on Thursday. Foreign armed groups, which include an Islamist insurgency with origins in Uganda and ties to Islamic states, must disarm and return unconditionally and immediately to their respective countries of region, the president's office said, without providing further details about the force. Tanzania already contributes 835 troops to the UN's peacekeeping mission, while Kenya contributes 250. Up next, Egypt's Suez Canal Economic Zone signs deals for green energy. Egypt's Suez Canal Economic Zone signed an agreement worth $3 billion to produce up to 350,000 tons of green energy for fueling ships in Ain Sokhna, with a consortium that includes EDF Renewables and the Egyptian Sovereign Wealth Fund, the cabinet said on Wednesday. Egypt also signed an agreement with AMEA Power of the United Arab Emirates to produce up to 390,000 tons of green ammonia a year in Ain Sokhna, the cabinet statement added. Up next, UK announces controversial plan to send asylum seekers to Rwanda. Okay? So according to CNN, people seeking asylum in the UK could now be relocated to Rwanda under a controversial new scheme blasted by international human rights groups as quote and unquote shockingly ill-conceived and contrary to international obligations. UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson called the scheme an innovative approach driven by our shared humanitarian impulse and made possible by Brexit freedoms on Thursday, saying that with the UK's help, Rwanda will have the capacity to resettle tens of thousands of people in the years ahead, okay? Speaking at a joint news conference in the Rwandan capital Kigali on Thursday, UK Home Secretary Priti Patel said that people relocated to Rwanda will be given the support, including up to 5 years of training, integration, accommodation, healthcare, so that they can resettle and thrive. Patel also called the plan a joint new migration and economic development partnership, saying that the UK is making substantial investment in the economic development of Rwanda. Over in Italy, Italy signs gas deal with Angola in a bid to boycott Russia. Italy on Wednesday penned a deal with Angola to ramp up gas supplies from the southern African country as it urgently scrambles to break away from Russian gas over the Ukraine war. So I'm pretty sure we are all familiar with the tussle between Russia and Ukraine, and it's having its own economic disadvantages. So a declaration of intent was signed to develop new natural gas ventures and to increase exports to Italy, a statement from the Italian foreign minister announced. Today, we have reached another important agreement with Angola to increase gas supplies, Foreign Minister Luigi Di Maio said in the statement. Italy's commitment to differentiate energy supply sources is confirmed, said Di Maio at the end of a 2.5-hour-long visit to Luanda. Prime Minister Mario Draghi also wants to add Angola and Congo-Brazzaville to a portfolio of suppliers to substitute Russia, which provides about 45% of Italian gas. We do not want to depend on Russian gas any longer because economic dependence must not become political subjection, he said in an interview with the Corriere della Sera daily published on Sunday. Diversification is possible and can be implemented in a relatively short amount of time, quicker than we imagined just a month ago, he said. Up next, Libya suspends production at largest oil field. Libya's national oil company, NOC, has suspended operations at two major oil sites, the Zwetina terminal and the Al Charara field, after shutting down several other facilities in connection with protests and political rivalries. The blockades announced on Monday come at a time when Libya is struggling to turn the pages on the years of Muammar Gaddafi's regime overthrown in 2011. In February, the parliament sitting in the east of the country appointed Fathi Bachaga as the new head of government. However, he has still not succeeded in ousting the current executive in Tripoli, led by Abdelhamid, who refuses to hand over power before elections are held. Considered close to the eastern camp, the groups blocking the oil sites are demanding a fair distribution, quote unquote, of revenues and the transfer of executive power to Mr. Bachaga. Also, Uber suspends operations in Tanzania. The US-based ride-hailing company Uber has suspended its services in Tanzania after 6 years in the country. Operations will resume after arriving at an agreement with the Tanzanian authorities, the company announced in a statement on Thursday. Current regulations in the transportation sector have created an environment that is not friendly and has been a challenge in our business, the firm said. It is, however, not clear what the exact conditions are. This is a difficult time for all of us, but this does not mean that it is the end of everything. We are ready to cooperate with the relevant authorities and reach an agreement that will create a stable environment for our business, the statement says. Okay, meanwhile, in Ghana, Ghana's inflation hits its highest since August 2009. According to the Ghana Statistical Service, foodstuffs such as oil and fats, that's 28.2%, water, 27.1%, cereal products, 25%, vegetables, 23.8%, fish and other seafood, 23.7%, fruits and nuts, 22.1%, soft drinks, 20.5%, live animals and meat, 20.2%, recorded inflation rate higher than the national average. Now, according to the figures, food inflation recorded a rate of 22.4% in March 2002 compared to 17.4% in February 2002. Non-food inflation, however, recorded a rate of 17% in March 2021 and 14.5% recorded in February 2022. Transport, including fuel, recorded the highest inflation rate of 27.6%, followed by housing with an inflation rate of 21.4%. Month-on-month inflation between February 22 and March 2022, I beg your pardon, was 4%. However, on a month-on-month basis, food inflation exceeded non-food inflation by 0.8 percentage points. In addition, local inflation shot up to 20% in March 2002 as against 17.3% for imported goods or inflation. This rise in inflation basically means interest rates will continue to surge while cost of credit will also go up. As at last month, the central bank raised interest rates in an attempt to control rampant price rises. which analysts say might threaten to dive one of West Africa's largest economies into crisis. The government has also announced a package of spending cuts to try to reduce its budget deficit and prop up the local currency. About 3 weeks ago, the government announced a reduction of salaries of appointees by between 20% and 30%, according to reports by local media. So that about wraps up the news for the African segment this week. As you probably already know, we get our news from different sources. There are a lot of things going on, a lot of crises going on in Africa, but we just pick the major ones, the ones that we feel are important to us in Nirruption. You can stay tuned to our podcast to get more news updates every week. I am Emediong, your host, and I will see you guys next week.